What's going on, everybody? We weren't sure if we were going to do this as a pre-produced video or a live recording, and I guess we're going the live recording route, even though there wasn't much notice. Obi-Wan Kenobi, it has come and gone. I guess officially the limited series, but very clearly not, has come and gone. It started way back as a rumor. We had a podcaster from the Star Wars Underworld on here. A few of them actually are not on here on our old show. Oh, geez, 7 years ago, I think it was now, 6 years ago. And they dropped the scoop on that show about Stephen Daldry and Ewan McGregor working on an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, which eventually became this Obi-Wan Kenobi limited series that has sadly come and gone already. Joining us on this episode, first up, he's my co-host. He's my bud. I think he's a little emotional, believe it or not. It's Qui-Gon John. What's going on, man?
I'm doing. If you've been in the group chats, you know that today has been a very interesting day for me as far as the internet goes. I had a very Tommy day. I didn't really have internet for much of the day at all, so I have literally was not able to watch this episode until I finished it about 5 to 10 minutes before I joined this call, which would at this point be about 20 minutes ago now. So I'm about 25 minutes or so from having finished the episode. So yeah, still feeling it in my feels. And I'm glad that I'm glad I'm not in full 4K, or else you'll be able to see the tear streaks down my face, because that's just a thing that happens to me.
Also joining us, he is one of the sponsors here at the channel, as well as a Patreon member and a staff member, Chat Mod, a terrible taste in sports teams guy, but he's here and he's toughing it out because he has a headache too. Matt Whitfield, what's going on, bud? What is going on, my man?
I don't have the worst taste in teams. That's the guy to the left of me. Look at his hat. It's a Saints hat. I'm in the finger.
Now hold on a minute. We can't go after the guy beside underneath us because he's wearing a Saints hat, because they actually have a championship. Now the Titans fan over here on my right.
He's not a Titans fan. He's a. Is he a Titans fan, or is he a professional Tom Brady dick rider? I don't know.
Both, definitely both.
Both. Okay.
He doesn't pay me enough, though. Also joining us, longtime friend of the show. He's been with us all the way back in the Star Wars Wastelands days. We've probably talked about this rumored show / movie with him a bunch over the years. It's finally come and gone. It's our buddy Ty. What's going on, man?
Not much. Was glad to hear from you earlier today, and when you mentioned maybe popping on, I was like, yeah, I'll see if I can make it happen, and so I did, and here we are.
We just want to dive into this because we don't have too much time here. I kind of want to go last with my thoughts. And Ty, I consider you a bit of a Star Wars expert, man, for various reasons. So why don't we're just focusing on the finale, by the way, tonight, guys. We'll be back next week to talk about the series as a whole.
The whole series.
Yeah. But the finale, how'd you feel about it?
So for me, I have to encompass it all of this. I'll make it brief. But like I mentioned to you earlier, that this was the best episode of the 6. I enjoyed it. It was great to see Ewan. I mean, as an actor, he's phenomenal. And then there was are we okay with spoilers?
Yeah, full spoiler.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. And so Palpatine and Qui-Gon was great bonuses. I mentioned to you when we were doing the voice messaging earlier, there was 2 things to me that like, while reminiscent or nostalgic, like I was like, I wish they would have done this a little bit different or something like that. And this is me nitpicking, because the show was good. Yeah, like I don't want to be like, oh, like I hate to be the person to like tear something down, but so when Obi-Wan cut into the helmet, and we have the Anakin reveal. We had already seen that in Rebels when Ahsoka did it to him, and to me, that takes away from that. Um, Two reasons why, and this both be story wise, is that he lets somebody get that close again now when Ahsoka does it to her, because Ahsoka would do it afterwards now because Obi-Wan has done it to him first. So Vader would let somebody get that close end shot to expose his helmet again. I just wish they could have done it. I wish they would have done it differently. Like instead of at a lightsaber slash, I wish it would have been like maybe like using the force, he rips it off or something like that, or they get into a point where they're actually like so heated onto each other that he grapples it and just like yeah, yeah, trying to be like, you're not this guy, you're not this, you're Anakin, reveal you're Anakin, yeah, something like that. Anyway, and then the second one, and which I heard back a little bit from you, we didn't really get into it, is that when the reminiscent of I can't even get the line right now. My head has gone to mush. And then you truly are. Help me out, Sean, because I know we talked about it. What is the line? Then my father truly is dead. Then my friend truly is dead. Right.
Yeah.
So, to me, that takes away from Luke's line in Return of the Jedi. I hear what you were saying earlier about. No, it possibly expounds upon it because maybe Vader is thinking about that when Luke says that to him, but you can't see that behind the helmet in Return of the Jedi, so you would have no idea. So those were my two things, is like a little nostalgic, but yeah, like maybe change up the line just a little bit to have it maybe reference it a little bit instead of being so on the nose. That's just my opinion of it. It was a great episode. I'm done.
I actually liked those parts where it sort of informed on the original trilogy, and so I don't want to say closed the loopholes, but it expounded on them in a way that to me they're acceptable loopholes now. Like not that they don't exist, but that they're explained away. And I think that one was a big one because it until that point Obi-Wan still believed Anakin was there. And he would come to be proven correct in the end. When Anakin does reemerge, excuse me, in 6, when he does finally oust the Emperor and dies in doing so, it did inform him correct that Anakin was still in there. He just hadn't, he wasn't the commanding voice in his head anymore, and that made sense to me. It was the part of the Leia informed on the original trilogy, because we always wondered, like the relationship didn't make sense, like they didn't know each other. But now to me it makes perfect sense because just in that one little small sequence there towards the very end, where he says, we can't tell people, people can't know. It makes perfect sense to me that Leia would play it straight, like she doesn't know who he is. That he's just this, general, Jedi general that her father spoke about glowingly and is reaching out to help to him. Of course, now we know the other side of that she knows this to be true. She knows that Obi-Wan Kenobi, will help in my time of need. But she also knows, more than he's not just some Jedi general that served in the Clone Wars.
I'm gonna have to watch it again because I don't remember that part actually. I mean, I remember her calling him Obi-Wan, but I don't remember him saying to her, "It's like we can't talk about this."
People can't know; they'll use it against this sort of vibe. I can't remember the exact line, but it was
Yeah, I'll
along
have
that trail, which makes perfect sense for Leia growing up to be the agent she is, not giving that away.
He tells her it would be dangerous for her own safety and his safety if anyone were to ever find out.
I can certainly watch the episode again. It's the best episode of the series.
It does. The
Or
one
the
thing that
season.
makes me wonder now is not, why this, but why was R2D2 the vessel of the message? That's the question I now have. Why wasn't Lola the vessel for the message? Because Lola is obviously there's a bond between the three of them.
We're not going to see Lola after the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. She's going to be gone.
I mean, I think we'll see Lola again, just not necessarily on screen. I think there's definitely going to be more younger Leia stories told in the future that we will see Lola and maybe explain why she's not with Leia on the Tantive.
Kieran posted the "I killed Anakin" line was great. I totally agree. Like that was dead on.
I've already been fighting with our friend Kieran in the chat over
yeah.
over Hayden stuff. Big shock. We'll let him talk about that when he comes on, though. Matt, what do you think, man? You messaged me. I don't remember when. I didn't see the message until way after. But
It was like 4 o'clock in the morning.
yeah, what do you think?
It's funny because I saw Johnny posted like I had to be right around 3 o'clock.
It was about 10 to 3 when it first went up.
And then when he posted something, that's when I was, and my back had been messing with me all night, so I wasn't sleeping. I was trying to finish Stranger Things, the final episode. But I was worried that it was going to feel forced because all we knew all week was like there wasn't going to be enough time. We didn't feel there was going to be enough time to kind of hit on everything and give it its proper attention and proper ending, I guess you could say, or ending to this point. But is it me? Or anybody else catch it? When he said hello to Luke, he said hello there. And it's the same thing that he said to Luke Skywalker in episode 4.
He said it to R2.
Oh, he said it's R2. Okay.
Hello there is his line.
Is a
signature. He said it to Grievous as well too.
Oh yeah.
I've been waiting for it since episode 2.
Overrated.
It's become his iconic quote. It's his most memeable. It's his most. It's the Obi-Wan Kenobi greeting.
Well, right. It's the best line he does that sounds so similar to Sir Alec Guinness.
Right.
When he did that, is like, oh, everybody get the nostalgia feels, that line, and I think there was another line. I was just like, holy cow, that sounded exactly like Alec Guinness.
Yeah, because I heard that last night.
Wow. Well, like he nailed that. But anyway, I digress again.
Yeah. Oh, it's all right. So I was really happy with how it was paced. And it was like that fight was so good. And it was like you wanted more. But it's almost like you look at your watch like, damn, they got too much to wrap up on before then. It was my favorite of the series by far. And I think that the little, it's almost like callbacks. Some of us knew that Liam Neeson was going to be in it. And not too long ago, we found out that Ian McDermott was going to be in it. And I thought they were a nice little touch at the end. It's got me wanting a lot more. And that's not, I know I'm not going to get a lot more going forward and how they're going to take it because I'm really interested in it. But yeah, I thought it was a great episode. Nice little callbacks. I think Hayden did really well in the fight, and how and I thought it was so cool how his voice kept on going in from Vader out back to Anakin, back to Vader, Anakin. I thought that was one of the big things that stuck out to me, how his voice is going back and forth. And I was like, that is awesome. But yeah, big fan of episode 6 and wanting more.
Well, we got more. It was 7, 8, 9. They, came a long time
You
after.
know what I mean.
Well, as you
Season
said
2.
earlier, you walked right into it.
Actually, Johnny, 7, 8, and 9 had nothing to do with Obi-Wan.
Exactly.
Well,
I'm
no, but they
wanting
already
another
exist, is
season.
what I'm saying.
I mean, he talks in 7, mentioned in 8, and talks again in 9. So
Thank you.
No, I'm being ridiculous.
Shut up, Sean.
I'll point out he's backing up me, so that's rare enough. Let me have this moment.
No.
Kenobi won't train, as Yoda said to, doesn't protect Luke very well, and allows Riva to live with the information about Luke and why is this okay. Okay, so I'm going to go through these a bit at a time, and just remember, Apollo, that I'm just saying it from my point of view.
We're speaking our opinions.
Yeah.
I can answer it in one sentence.
Go ahead.
There'll be a season 2.
Well, I think that only deals with the last point, I think. Because
A Riva point?
Yeah, the first 2 points, they kind of, go for the rest of their lives. And, we know Kenobi doesn't really... I mean, outside of the Black Christan incident, which I believe we timed after this.
I don't know. At the end of the day, they're willing to...
Yeah, I mean, I guess I should say that right now we think that incident is after this. Whether or not they completely crap on that to make something else happen, who knows? Granted, that could be a season 2 story, which would be... I'd be okay with that, I guess.
I don't know if I want a season 2 story of just him on Tatooine, though. I think there's got to be more, but we'll get to that. No, for me, it's simple. He's human. He lost... I don't know how many times Johnny and I have said this on streams. He lost Qui-Gon, Satine, Anakin, Padme, his life, his comrades, his beliefs. He literally was stripped down to nothing. So that sort of covers points 1 and 2.
I think point 2 is completely false because he does protect him extremely well anytime he has to. Like anytime he's been needed, he's been there. Even when you didn't expect it, when he made that mad dash from whatever moon him and Vader were fighting on to Tatooine in the blink of an eye, which, for me, I just kind of have to play with the timeline a little bit. And, well, those events happen after. They weren't happening simultaneously. They just didn't tell us that. That's how my mind rationalizes it. But he's there whenever Luke needs him to be there. Whenever there's a legitimate threat, Obi-Wan is there to help him. To this point, that's just been, the Inquisitors that showed up initially, and then Reva, and eventually a Black Christan. There's really no other life-threatening moments. And as to the first point, I think that's proven false in that Obi-Wan realizes that he doesn't need to be trained the way other people do. When he says that he needs to be a boy, he means that. And he realizes that's sort of how they failed Anakin, to a degree, by sort of immersing him into you're the chosen one as, a child, and a very young child at that. He had nothing to do but sort of grasp at anything that would allow him some sort of normalcy. And he found that in Padme, which was a perfectly natural relationship for me. And, had Qui-Gon been alive, he would have been standing at the wedding clapping his hands, but that's a different thing that, we can't change. But, Anakin had to grasp onto those elements of normalcy, and he found that in Padme, and he found that in, Ian McCrimmid, because that's what we call him around these parts, Ian McCrimmid, not McDiarmid, it's McCrimmid. And he sort of gave him that fatherly element, and gave him that appearance of a father, whereas Obi-Wan was, he was a brother, he was a comrade, he was a friend, but he wasn't a father. He needed that father figure, and that's what Palpatine provided, and used it to his... So he trained him the way he needed to be trained. He let him live his life as a boy, which is what allowed him to turn Anakin back from being Vader.
To go back just to initial thoughts on the episode, I thought it was the best episode of. I thought it was the best thing Disney has done with Star Wars. Period. Yet, this specific episode, storytelling wise, I still think it's the best thing Disney has done with Star Wars. Period. There are technical issues that I'm going to have a terrible time getting over for a while. And I hope that before they like set anything in stone, that they just look at what Andor looks like and what the response to Andor is and how they're shooting that. Like, I think the volume is good for some things, but I think it's it's so noticeable at times. The scene at the end when Obi-Wan, or towards the end when Obi-Wan comes up to Baru and Owen, Jade's like, as Reva's walking back in, the behind Riva portion that's more like foggy, looks fine. But when it cut to the other three, oh man, I'll be honest, it just looks terrible. And I do think it is obviously far cheaper budgets that they're working off with these. Um, but I think when you're doing Star Wars storytelling, there's still a certain quality that should probably be maintained, even if it's you might not be able to turn the shows around quicker, because obviously with the volume, you do 90% of your post production pre production now, and then you get strapped into having to be set in certain places because you got to work with what the background is. Um, I just really hope before they decide anything else for Kenobi season 2 that they see how Andor goes, because I don't know about you guys, when I look at the Andor trailer and then I look at the visuals of this series, like it's not even like it feels like two different universes almost, to be honest.
Now, when you're looking at the trailer, though, you know that they're just putting out the best stuff, though. So I'm expecting that there's going to be some CGI issues. My CGI issue in the series is less about the volume and more about the ships. Like, I was like, really? This is Star Wars. You guys can't. I mean, they did it right with the Mandalorian. Yeah, for the most part, they did it right with Boba Fett. But yeah, in Obi-Wan, it's almost every time you're seeing a ship, especially in an atmosphere or anything like that, or near a ground, I'm just like, it's not working. And part of the Andor trailer too, I think when you see a ship going down or something, I'm like, ooh, that doesn't. I hope they fix that. Anyway,
I think I certainly understand the critique. I think to me, it's just more they're not important. Like it's the ship is. I'd argue that the Razor Crest was the third character on Mandalorian.
hmm
It's sort of like the Millennium Falcon. It is necessary for it to exist both, in its vacuum as a set, but in the air and in space. So you have to put that sort of focus on making it look as close to cinematic quality as you can. And in a series like this, the ships are secondary. They're not important to the story and could probably have been almost left out entirely.
Well, let's just because we're on a bit of a time crunch here, guys. I want to change focus. We'll touch on some of the smaller stuff in a bit, but I want to bring up the fight, because that's what everybody's going to talk about, is the fight. How did we all feel about the fight? Because for me, that's the best on-screen fight they've done since Revenge of the Sith, in my opinion.
Oh, no question. I don't think there's any debate that it's that good, because it was that different. If you look at the fight in Revenge of the Sith as, two much, I don't want to say much younger men, because they're not really that much younger. I mean, yes, 10 years makes a difference. No question about that. 10 years ago I was in a lot better shape than I am now. But, it worked because, you go from this, acrobatic aerial young man fight, and this one was more, you know, two older men just plotting and plotting and moving and moving. And to me, it looks more like, to me, when I look at these fights, I want to, sort of find real world comparables. You look at two of the best duelists we've seen, and that's Anakin and Obi-Wan. You have to look at some of the best fighters in the world. So I like Muhammad Ali. Revenge of the Sith is young Ali. It's Cassius Clay. It's him just finding his peak. And then you get to this one, and it's old man Ali. It's him in form. It's the rumble in the jungle. It's plodding. It's methodical. It's slow, and it's perfect, and it's beautiful because it is all of those things. You still get the intense combat with the blades. You still get the use of the force in a much more noticeable manner, and it was just phenomenal for me. I loved every single shot of that whole fight. And the lightsabers weren't as annoying to me as they were in the first fight.
Uh-oh. Cujo's out.
Sounds like Tucker disagrees.
Carry it away, John.
What about you guys? What did you guys think of the fight?
Now, for me, I saw a quote today, and I didn't think when I first heard it, I was like, "What the hell?" But they were dead on. They said "Revenge of the Sith" is Injustice for All, Metallica's album, fast pace, boom, 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 extremely, and this fight was the Black Album.
So I make
More
Muhammad Ali
methodical.
references, you make Metallica album references. Yeah, that tracks.
No, Metallica's better.
Whoa! We can't compare a band to an athlete.
But
And
yeah,
Muhammad
I thought
Ali
it
is
was
the best boxer in the world. Metallica is not the best band in the world.
I felt like it was a good in between from Revenge of the Sith to go to the New Hope. And you see that like it's like you said, it's less of the jumping around and everything. And what I liked was that they started to get into more of the force powers is struggling and like throwing the rocks and then that kind of stuff. So I dug it. Yeah, it was definitely better than the other fights that we saw in the season.
Mhm.
And so I just wish that in some level they would have been like, okay, we know this is our climatic fight, but we still need to gear up on these other fights to make them look comparable. Yeah, so it was good. I don't have any high praise for it. I don't have any low praise for it. It fit. That's my yeah.
But the thing about it, it was labeled the rematch of the century. Did we get the rematch of the century?
Absolutely.
I wouldn't say
Close.
that. Yeah, I mean, so here's the great thing is that it leaves room for more if we do get another Vader Obi-Wan fight in season 2. I don't think it's necessary. But if they do, it leaves room for it. Yeah.
I don't think they have to have multiple fights in the second season. All they need is one.
I'm in the opposite camp to that. If we get a season 2 of this, which signs are pointing that way, just based off of Hayden's comments that and Ewan's comments that they want to do this again. If they want to do it, Disney will make it happen. There's no reason not to. Let's be honest.
I agree. Story-wise, though, like I prefer not to be inundated or inundated. I don't want to be overwhelmed with a whole bunch of like, oh, they need to have another fight. No, they don't. The only thing that I feel like they could like knock on more is the realizing that he's more machine than he is man, right? So, something that like we've already seen him. Okay, now he's now just going to call him Darth Vader, right, instead of Anakin. We've got that closure there. So even if there isn't that's what I'm thinking with. We don't even need a season 2. We don't need another fight or anything like that. But if they do, go ahead.
No, you can just talk.
I was just saying that if they do, like I'd like to see him like he made the one comment. Okay, now he's just. I will from now on call him Darth Vader instead of Anakin. Yeah, but I would like to see him pull away from Vader even more. Just be like, okay, you know what? Now there's a realization, because in episode 4, and even 5, when he's a ghost, he's like, there's no hope for him. There is no hope for him, and so I just like, if they went that direction, I would like to see just a little more expounding upon that. They don't have to go into great detail. That's the only thing that I would want. I don't see a reason for them to get in another duel.
I don't think
But the way
I don't think we'll ever see those two characters cross blades again, because it
I
doesn't
disagree.
make sense. We've seen it to this point now. These two have, dueled 4 times. And training battles, but those don't count for squat. There have been 4 fights to the death where no one actually dies until
That
Obi-Wan.
training battle was actually so unnecessary.
I don't
The
think so.
flashback was unnecessary. It's my.
I don't think
I
it
get
was.
Great for all the fanboys to be like, yay, we get to go back in time and see these
I think it
guys
fit with what the episode was trying to tell us.
trying
that-
to tell us.
Well, I think it did tell us that, though, because I
Ah,
think we achieved that through
difference of opinion.
his seeing Riva's plan and plotting that out and gaming it. That was always Anakin's weak spot. He was more right now, do this. He was run at the problem. He wasn't think through the problem and see the problem all the way through until Riva. She made him see the problem through, see it through, think beyond just, now she's a youngling. She wants to kill me. Well, I'm going to force choke her before she can get anywhere close to me. No, he plays the game. He's never done that until
But
now.
he left her alive.
But does he
Why?
know he did?
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, he did. He knows. My only thing, I think,
Sean's like skeptic.
I don't
I
know,
think he
because
knows.
I think
I
to
think
me
he
it's no
knows.
different. Like, we can sit here and be like, oh yeah, no, he definitely knew. But did any of the Jedi know Darth Maul survived? No, because he used his hate. That's what fueled Reva,
Because
was her
initially he
hate.
did survive.
You're muted, John.
the one thing I would just wanted to say real quick, the way they set it up with Vader talking to Palpatine and how Palpatine was saying, are we clear? Yes, you are my master. But in the back of his head that he ain't done. He's telling Palpatine one thing, but he's thinking another. So and I think with that might have set it up. If there is going to be a season 2, you're going to see one more. But at this point,
I don't think you're going to see it in the way you mean.
Obi-Wan's 1 in 3 against him.
I mean, you could argue that
I argue they're 2 and 2.
you could argue that they're 3 and 1. The fella who plays the dude from Kim's Convenience, we've talked about this before, who was in I'm blanking here, Mandalorian. I can't remember if he was in Book of Boba Fett or not.
He was supposed to be in Rangers of the New Republic.
Yeah. Anyways, so like someone who's actually employed by Lucasfilm says he's pretty convinced that the way that we're supposed to perceive Obi-Wan's death, at least in canon now, is not that Vader cuts him down, but that Kenobi just becomes one with the Force like Luke did at the end of The Last Jedi. And that's why Vader stomps on the cloak. Like, it declares it a victory, much like he said, this is why you'll always lose in this fight, because he has just a warped, twisted sense of reality. I don't know. I just like, I loved it. I've been quiet for most of this. I just want to chime in on the battle thing because I know Matt, damn sure it's going to happen. And I'm going to be there. I'm going to Karen you again, man. It's not. There's not going to be another fight. That was it. There's no reason for there to be another fight right now because Vader can't hold a candlestick to Kenobi, and he knows it at that moment. There's a reason that fight goes the way it does in the back half of it. It's not.
I think that's it's completely informed by the line in 4. The last time we met, you were the master, but now I am. You know, it
Yeah,
completely
that's
informs that.
I can see
decision.
that. I see where you're coming with that. So
You
what,
for season 2 for me, I don't know if you guys have seen Loki, but like send Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan on the journey that Yoda got to take in
The Clone Wars
uh,
season 7.
actually become a Force ghost, and then you can have Kenobi run into Broken or whatever problem comes up that could be Sith Inquisitor related or another bad guy related or just anything. There's so many things you can do, and you can still have Vader. Vader can still continue his hunt for Kenobi. He's absolutely going to do that. I don't think that's what anybody. No one's saying Vader's going to be like, okay, now I'm just moving on. I don't think that happens at all. I think he continues to hunt for Kenobi this entire time. Maybe
I think the
aggressively.
interactions that we're going to see between the two characters are going to be more sort of a forced dyad. You know, I think Obi-Wan's going to keep. I think Qui-Gon's going to try and convince him that, you know, there's still, you know, he still will bring balance to the Force. I think Qui-Gon's going to insist on that. But I don't know quite how much Qui-Gon can see or what he knows being a Force ghost versus what he doesn't know. But I think we're going to see that sort of relationship where Anakin reaches, or where Obi-Wan reaches out to Anakin through the Force. Because I think, to me, the scene at the end with the Emperor sort of put cracks in the armor of their relationship. You know, it sort of, you know, implied that if you can't do it, I'll find someone who can. You're not important to me. You know, like I said, he sees this as a father and son relationship, whereas now he's, you know, starting to see Palpatine for what he really is.
So there's a wonderful image that is floating around online, and I will go to war with people over this. So you're probably going to see Kira and I go to war next week. Hayden's performance in this episode is spectacular. If you're not paying attention, you can't see it. But there's a moment when the mask is cracked where the lighting changes. It's like it's
from blue to purple, I mean pink,
blue because of Kenobi's saber, and you actually see at that point there's a little hint of Anakin, and he's actually tearing up. It's hard to see. It's not hard to see in the screenshot of it, but as it's happening, it's hard to see. But he tears up, and then the red light flicks on, kind of like Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens. Vader comes into it, and I thought Hayden handled it incredibly well. Remind you, he didn't get a whole lot to do.
He worked hard with what he had, though.
I can say this for me personally, as a prequel fan. I mean, I love most Star Wars, but as a prequel fan and the love I have for those two characters, that moment where Kenobi is breaking down and like crying, and you know, it's that for me destroyed me. I teared up, and I can honestly say I've never had a Star Wars scene ever hit me the way that did. Now, if I would have been, you know, around in 1980 and didn't have a dick neighbor spoil it for me as a kid, finding out Vader was Luke's father might have done that for me too.
I don't think that would have been a tear moment. That would have been a shock moment. You know, like everyone else, like everyone else was more like a.
See, I teared up when Luke burned Vader's armor back in Return of the Jedi, back in '83, and I'll even go back to back to when you said that somebody was saying that Obi-Wan vanished into the Force. Like I've been thinking that back since 1977, back when I initially saw it. I'd never once thought that he actually like he dissipated into the Force. That was anyway. While we're talking about your love for the prequels, and I mentioned this on my voice message with you. You said it was a little bit garbled, though. I know a comic book did something similar to this. So for season 2, one of the things that I would like to see, I don't know whether if they do it, and I'd have to actually go back to the prequels and see which of the handmaidens died. But it'd be really cool to get Keira Knightley to come back in as one of the handmaidens for Padme, kind of be like a haunting figure for either Obi-Wan or for Vader. Uh,
I think her name's Saw.
That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
that was Keira Knightley's handmaiden name. Yeah.
yeah, did she? Is that the one that died in the?
No.
Okay,
No.
that was
I don't
Rabe that died in. Anyway, but that would be great if they could get Keira Knightley to come back. I mean,
I can't remember the name of the material you're talking about, but it's the handmaiden and Vader. And I think Sean, you and I talked about this.
it's a
few
comic
times.
book that just recently.
Yeah, I think we
Mhm.
talked about it a few times where Vader goes to her tomb
Mm-hmm.
to find out how she died and confirm her death and all that, and find out she was pregnant when she died, or that she'd given birth when she
Mhm.
died was what he was after. I think canonically, as far as the comics go, and we know that they kind of play fast and loose with their own source material, which makes no sense, but I think it was Sabe in that
Comic.
actual comic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I haven't read it since it came out.
Anyway, that's all I wanted to throw in there before we had to wrap up or anything like that.
It would be an interesting parallel to see that adapted.
Oh, we
well,
don't
we
even
get
need to adapt that, but
no,
yeah,
no, but I'm saying something like it because the way you're sort of presenting it does sort of. I mean, you sort of have to adapt that storyline in a
Oh.
certain sort of way,
okay.
just because of what
What's
some-
already written.
Well, yeah, but
They're willing to write over cartoons. and
they
comics,
are. They absolutely.
Oh
are.
yeah.
which is why I totally agree with Ty's reference. Rebels, I don't think Rebels did it better. I think that this was way better than Rebels.
Well, not whether if it was better or not, it doesn't matter. It's the fact that they already did it,
But
and
only
they shouldn't have
5
done it like that again.
Only 5% of Star Wars fans have seen Star Wars Rebels. Like
Mm.
that is the number. It's like 5 to 10%. And as much as we want this to be for diehards, they're still going to cater to a
absolutely.
a general audience.
You're
Okay.
definitely right that to the average to John Q. Public, that moment they don't even know who Ahsoka Tano is really. To John Q. Public, because to John Q. Public, she showed up in The Mandalorian.
Oh, there was a ton of people when she first debuted in The Mandalorian who had no idea who she was.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So, I mean, to those people, fine. If you want to play, Disney is always going to play to the lowest common denominator, and that's John Q. Public. It's not the Star Wars diehard like we are, who've read the comics, who've read the novels, who've been reading this stuff for our existence, for you guys since it started being a thing for the older tier of audience, and for me, who it's been part of their life for as long as they've been around. Really, it just. We understand and we see things and we like, oh, they're adapting this or this is that story, they've already done this and this one did it better, which is why like Thrawn is so hard, because you have a great trilogy in Legends and you have a great trilogy in canon, so it's sort of hard to reconcile those two, but it just, you're always going to have those people who are like, oh, well, this one did it better, that one did it better. And for those of us who have seen both moments, we can say, yes, it doesn't hit quite as hard because we've already seen almost the exact same thing already occur. But let's be honest, the fact that it's Obi-Wan doing it this time does sort of up the emotional factor just a tad, because it is Obi-Wan.
Let's be really quick with this one here, guys. You can name a few things, but just some minor things in the episode that you might have liked. I'll give an example. The Star Destroyer shots were by far higher quality than anything that we have seen in this series. Loved the shot of the bridge too. There's this super subtle moment with the Grand Inquisitor where Vader ignores his advice, and the Grand Inquisitor sort of turns towards the viewing window or whatever and goes like it's like an eye roll and a chin twitch that Vader doesn't note, or maybe he does notice and doesn't say anything. But I honestly thought Rupert Friend should have had more to do, because his version of the character for me, billion times better than any animated character that you put on TV. Jason Isaacs is great, but man, the delivery that Friend was able to give was amazing. And Bonnie Peace as Beru, who definitely did not get enough to do and did have a lot of stuff cut. Beru and Luke are initially in episode 1 and in the town where Owen and Obi-Wan are. And they cut that whole portion out. There's actually images of it online. But
Yeah, because in a 6-hour series, they had to cut so much to make that 6-hour mark. I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, more like 3.5. But
4 hours and 39 minutes.
no,
I
it is not 4.
I'm counting total runtimes.
Okay, but
I'm that's my count. That's why I say 4:39. Because I'm being generous.
Right.
I'm counting intros and outros.
no way.
Actual time? No, you're right. It's probably closer
Yeah,
to
gonna be
4
nice.
hours.
There's a really quick moment that happens when Owen goes back to the farm and and says to Beru what's happening. And he's like, Ben's gone. And she's like, and whose fault is that? And it's just such a like, oh wow, yeah, she's pissed at you.
It's the pure opposite of the moment. It's like the flip side of the coin from episode 1, where you had that epic moment where Owen just completely lays the smack down on Obi-Wan. When he talks about training Luke like you did his father. It's the flip side of that moment where now you need Ben and he's not there, and whose fault is that? Yours.
Right. So I love Joel, absolutely. And so, and it may be because I've seen this one short film so many times. Have you guys seen Troops?
Yeah.
Okay, like every time I see those two together, all I can see is that short film, and it's just I'm just like okay, and they're both better. Bonnie Peace, Joel Edgerton, they're fantastic, and he the, Star Wars is lucky to have Joel as Owen, and Ewan as Obi-Wan. But yeah, I don't have any like for this episode. The standout thing, the only and maybe because I watched it at 4 a.m. and I'd have to go back and watch it again. But literally, it's the fight that's the standout for me. That's it.
I mean, the fight is just sensational. And I liked all the Beru stuff, putting Owen in his place, kind of. But I also liked Owen's moment with Reva, where Reva's like, "You really do love him, almost like he's your own." And Owen staring a lightsaber down, about to get killed, basically reiterates, "He is my own." And I don't know if the actor did a very good job of pulling off how Owen should have been in A New Hope. I do know that George Lucas wasn't overly fond of the fellow's performance. I forget the guy's name. He's deceased now. Somebody Brown, I think. Could be wrong on that front, though. It's cool that we finally get a view of Owen that's like, no, hey, like Luke, for all intents and purposes, is his son, and he died for him at the end of the day, and just wanted what was best for him. I think
Phil
Owen,
Brown was his name.
Phil Brown. I think Owen gets a bad rap, and hopefully, if this series did anything for that character, is it shows that hey, he's not just a hard ass. Like he loves the kid. He wants what's best for him.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that, because to me, I don't know. Again, it's the performance, but for Owen and Luke's relationship seemed like a hindrance. Like
Strain.
yeah, like Owen wasn't happy. He was this isn't my kid. I had to raise him, and now he's doing all these things.
Kind of comes off like the people from Harry Potter. I don't know who their names are.
I mean, that's perfectly a fair comparison, which I'm shocked is coming from you, if I'm being perfectly honest. But you're right. He's very much. It feels more like the Dursleys' relationship with Harry versus here. It's more like a serious relationship with Harry, since we're making Harry Potter references all of a sudden. Like there's an emotional connection there and a bond that just disappears over the next 8 years.
9.
So I mean, like, okay, that doesn't, unless Luke's teenage years are the worst possible teenage years anyone can have, which I suppose are distinctly possible.
That kid gonna drive them mad.
He does have his teenage years ahead of him, so I could see him being a little exasperated, but there's a huge difference between exasperation and encumbrance, and it definitely felt like an encumbered relationship, not a God, I can't wait for you to grow up.
Let's go around the table here, guys. I'm gonna put you on the spot as we get ready to wrap up here. Out of 10, what are we giving it? I'm gonna start off. I'm giving this episode. Johnny, can you remember what I gave episode 1? I think episode 1 was 9.5.
Yeah, you were high.
And then
off the
episode
start.
2 was, I think, 7.5. And then episode 3, I think, was 8.5. And then 4 was like a 6 from me. And then 5, I think I gave a 9. So I'd give this one like a 9.7 out of 10 because I like it more than the first one. So we'll see how I feel about it, a year from now when recency bias wears off. Like I was really high on Solo after seeing it, and it's definitely one of my least favorite Star Wars movies. So
the recency bias was strong for that one. I think that was partially because of the people we watched it with. Definitely helped make the experience better than the film.
Do you want him to like cyber punch you right now through the screen?
No, I'm saying it was better because he was there. That's a compliment, not an insult.
Oh.
I'm saying the recency bias was enhanced because of the people we watched it with.
For me, the one-offs, the anthologies, were better than any of the trilogy movies. So
I don't know if I can go
the sequel trilogy. It's my
just
opinion.
because 7 sort of hits for me better than the other two.
I got something I need to admit, guys.
Okay.
You like The Last Jedi now, don't you?
Kieran's not here, so
not watching either.
I don't know how I feel about The Last Jedi anymore. There are still parts of it that I just really don't like because it feels more like a Marvel movie than a Star Wars movie. But man, there's a lot about that movie that's really good. And while I definitely was never a harassing asshole like some people were to Ryan Johnson and Kelly Marie Tran, and I just thought it didn't hit for me at the time. Boy, I think Ryan Johnson probably deserves an apology from a few people. I don't think the movie's all that bad.
Certain aspects of the movie aren't that bad.
Yeah,
there's a lot of aspects.
That's a great, yeah.
No, I'll never get over Canto Bite. Not for me.
I don't disagree with that. I can't
Looks
argue
like you
that
popped
point.
into Star Trek for 15 minutes and then popped out.
Fair.
So, would you give it out of 10, Ty?
So I wouldn't give any of the episodes higher than an 8. So this one will get a 7.2 for me.
Nice. But so that would have been higher than all the others.
Oh yes.
Anything lower than a 5? And if so, which one?
I would have to go back.
Gotcha.
But nothing gut punches you that says, yeah, that was worse than a 5. So that's fair.
No, in every episode, I believe, was better than the majority of Book of Boba Fett.
Well, that's not.
I still haven't watched that. I'm so not interested.
I
I'll watch the.
Well,
the
the last
Mandalorian
episode of Book of
2.5.
Boba Fett was really good.
Oh, really? You liked the last episode?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
Well,
I liked 5 and 6. I thought the last one.
You know what?
I watched the
We
first
can have
2
a
and I
difference
was
of
like,
opinion.
no,
That's
I'm
okay.
good.
Oh, for sure. But try telling 99% of the people that online.
I'm just not going to call you like an asshole for.
How
I'm not going to burn you at the stake for saying
Right.
this thing stinks.
Right? You toxic fan, you.
I think the biggest issue I have with Book of Boba Fett is my favorite episodes are episodes 5 and 6. And if you've seen the series, without spoiling too much for Johnny,
Oh, Johnny already knows it. Like
okay.
it's not like
I
I
mean,
don't know it.
episode
That's the 2.5 episodes, right?
episode 5 is The Mandalorian, like
Yeah.
the whole episode, and then episode 6 is The Mandalorian and Luke Skywalker with I think Boba's in one scene and doesn't have a single line. I think he nods his head.
Yeah, when I say Mandalorian 2.5, that's what I mean.
Oh,
So, I mean, I knew that it gets there.
it's
So I said I'll probably watch those episodes, but skip the rest.
Yeah, that's what I just said. The last episode.
Wait, what? I'm so
The last episode of Book of Boba Fett, right?
Which one is that? I'm getting confused here.
That's number 6.
No, there were 7 episodes.
Okay. There were 7?
Yeah, the last one.
Yeah.
The last one's
Not helping your case here, Ty.
is like the
The
small,
one with the Rancor.
yes, where he's riding the Rancor.
Yes, that's a great episode. Are you kidding me?
I think you guys are agreeing with that. You're just getting the numbers confused.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Oh, Matt, What was your
Um,
out of 10? And that's gonna do it for us tonight, guys.
no. Be quiet, Bounty Gate. Full on 10. Because I don't think there was really anything wrong with it.
Then why do you need another one?
Well, I mean,
I can't go full 10.
It's the Karen in me.
I can't go full 10 for anything. I mean, I don't even give Empire a full 10. It's like a 9.9.
Oh,
but
Empire gets a 10, dude. What the fuck's wrong with
now?
you?
Hold on a minute. Now,
Exactly.
get out. Oh no, it froze him. Shit, I forgot it freezes him when it does. Oh, he's back. He's good.
We grew up on the
just
nothing
muted.
is perfect teacher. Thank you, and I'll agree with that. So I'll give it a 9.9 and say it's as close to perfect as you can possibly be.
Okay, let's go 9.99.
That's
make you
acceptable.
happy?
It is 9.99. I'll agree with that.
Round it up to 10.
But I mean, if you want to round up,
I know,
fine. I'm
right?
not going to round up. It's 9.9. But this episode for me is a 9. I didn't give anything higher than that. I was a bit more left room for improvement in my ranking, so I wouldn't have to deal with the 0.1s, 0.2s, 0.3s, 0.4s, and try and keep track. So I think I started at like an 8 and sort of steadily went up from there because I actually liked it. For me, each episode was better than the last for me personally.
Yes.
Last question. We're out of here, guys. What does everybody want next? Ty, you're content with it ending, correct?
I mentioned that, but even if it didn't, I think I already spoke to what I would like. And that'd be bring in one of the handmaidens, Keira Knightley especially. I think that would be like something that would surprise the fandom, and especially if they kept it quiet. Like that would be awesome if they kept it under wraps. Then we all get the surprise, like what they did with Luke, right? They thought it was Plo Koon, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa. What? Anyway, so yeah, that'd be great to see in the next season. Everything else, like I'm just kind of like the Boba Fett thing is like this is basically fan service, so we don't need another season. But if we get it, I'm gonna watch it.
My hope is they do a show. Now careful, because I'm not going to get my expectations too out of whack here, but formulated similar to Game of Thrones, and where they go from one group to another group to another group to another group, and then maybe towards the end of a season, it all converges into one plot line. I'm not saying rated R content or anything like that, but you could have Kenobi and Qui-Gon off on their mission, Reva doing her thing, Vader continuing the hunt for Kenobi, but maybe he runs into, I don't know, Quinlan Voss or someone. And then you also have Roken, who has already said that he's not done. And the rebellion is probably already going to get too much play in Andor in over 24 episodes. So I don't know how much of that they'd get into. But I think there's a chance here to not necessarily do an Obi-Wan season 2, but follow all those characters, including Obi-Wan, and maybe just have a better name for it. And maybe it'll help keep expectations in check, because I know people, for whatever reason, thought they were going to get Obi-Wan in every scene of the show, which was never going to be the case because that's not how Star Wars is made. Yeah.
It's not how anything. I can't think of any series where one character is in every scene of everything that isn't a movie. I mean, movies have done it, but I can't think of a TV series where that is the case.
I'll say this. There's a chance the follow-up could be a movie.
I agree. And I would think, 2024?
Oh, if it's a movie, not a chance.
God, no.
Oh,
if it's a movie, this is a full
2025 at the
cinematic
earliest.
release.
Yeah,
This isn't a Disney Plus thing.
Even if it's a Disney Plus heavily volume thing, you're looking at like holiday 2024 at earliest for a follow-up season.
That's if they turn it around like immediately.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anywhere close to that because there's no plan, there's no structure, there's no scripts. And well,
I don't know about that.
No, I mean, I'm sure that Deborah Chow has ideas and plans.
Oh, I don't think she's bad. I don't. I
don't think so either.
She seems like she wants to take a break. I think you have You have Ewan and certain writers and certain executive producers, and then they bring someone else in. It won't be Deborah Chow again. I think she's exhausted.
I think she's. I don't necessarily mean she has to direct the whole thing, but I think she sort of stays on as sort of a
MEP.
yeah, like as the shepherding voice, like your Jon Favreau and your
Bryce
not doing
Dallas
everything, but you're sort of just keeping the ship
That's
righted.
the scenario. They announced Kenobi 2 at Celebration in London next year. I think it'll get announced before then, but they announce it then, to come out like a year or two later. And they're like, and the showrunner is Rian Johnson. Fan base would probably.
No, thank you.
The videos would be hilarious.
No.
I would be okay with it, but I want to see him get to make his own characters.
That's the thing. Like, if Ryan's going to do something else in Star Wars, I want him to do his own thing. I don't want him to play in somebody else's sandbox because that did not work for me. I think he's talented enough to have his own sandbox. If Taika Waititi can have his own sandbox, then so can Rian Johnson.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to, though, Taika. It sounds like Taika is doing a film after 6, and all signs are pointing towards Millie Bobby Brown might be attached to that film. So,
but it's still new characters, so it's its own playbox. Like it's in the timeline, but it's his own sandbox.
The rumors I'm hearing is that Millie Bobby Brown's going to be in the that other series that was announced at Celebration.
Skeleton Crew? Yeah, I think
I actually don't think that. I think everything they're saying about that is, I think that's too close to Stranger Things, and I don't think
more.
And I don't think she wants to do that because that's. Well, I mean, I don't think that's a smart career decision.
I think Skeleton Crew is about to start filming too. I know they haven't announced the cast yet, but like.
I think that's another big problem is that she's still got the final season of Stranger Things to go, and that
whatever she's doing is going to be a while from now. But apparently, it's a big money deal and multiple things. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anybody else want to add in anything else as we go off air here? I'm good.
I mean, you're sort of posticulating on the season 2. I just want a compelling story. Like that was the main thing I wanted going into this one, and I'm satisfied with that. Young Leia stole my heart, and I'm okay with that. And while I don't think we see her in season 2, because then you get too much of those two together, and that sort of ruins so much of the future. But I just want a good, compelling story.
I think it depends on what follows.
All right, guys.
Ty, thanks for doing this, man. It's appreciated. Love talking Star Wars.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure for coming. Or pleasure having you, pardon me. Matt, where can everybody find you, man? Here, there, everywhere?
That's my line.
What? Brooding?
No, that's Tommy's line.
No, my line's here, there, and everywhere.
Oh, anyway.
Johnny?
Well, you've been doing some streaming lately.
Since you ruined my here, there, and everywhere bit. Bros Before Pros. We finished our first Quarry playthrough. It did not end well.
Okay, I'm assuming it ended quickly because of bad decision making from you.
No. I mean, it was the natural ending point. I don't know if there would have been more if there had been other decisions made throughout the course of the story. That's of course possible, but it just sort of went from, without saying too much, it went from everybody's alive to 50% of you are dead very quickly.
But there should be things you can do to change that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I can literally point to 2 instances where if I'd just done things just 1 point differently, then everyone would still be alive.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. Check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/Fandom Empire. Appreciate all the support that we get over there from everybody. It means a lot. And I might be back on live here soon, just doing a Q&A. We'll see. Good night, everybody. And may the force be with you. Andor, it's coming. August 28th, 9th?
Something like that.
Something like that. Good night, people.